I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here we talk about true crime and psychology. Thank you so much for joining. Let's hop right into today's topic. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, welcome. This is Saturday, November 8th, and this past week there have been multiple trials. There's been a lot going on. 4 p.m. Eastern today. I'm really excited to have Josh Ritter on the channel, and we're going to discuss the Abigail Zwerner verdict. She received a judgment, and so I will be discussing that with him. Before doing that, there were some cases that came up this week that I really needed to talk with you all about. So I did a video on the Devyn Michaels case. This is a case out of Las Vegas, and I covered because during her sentencing, because she did a plea agreement, and during her sentencing, she said that there was somebody somebody else did it, and she had proof that could exonerate her. Okay. Like that's what came out during that hearing. I have a link to my prior video down in the description. I think I wanted to share a little bit of this. Yes. Oh, but we're going to take a little step back in time. And so let's play a little bit of. So this was supposed to be sentencing, and she is charged with the death of her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, because this situation gets complicated. Okay. And I will break down how and why the situation is complicated and who the defense is now blaming, who also was able to testify during this actual trial. Okay. So let's take a look. So this was from a while ago. Let me see. This was from 3 months ago, where she ends up getting upset because this is sentencing, and she's supposed to give a statement that you would think would be about sentencing, but it wasn't. Okay. The defendant in this case, his name was, sorry, not the defendant, the victim in this case is Jonathan Willett. And so she's starting out that he's very special to her. Let me know in the comments if the volume is low on the video from Law and Crime. Let me know if the audio is low.
And I know no matter what I say at this moment.
I think I have it turned up. Yep, 1.75. Let's go down to normal.
I know right now no one in the family is going to believe me. I know right now no one in the family feels that I am innocent at any point, and I understand that, but I can actually prove my innocence. I actually can, and I'm not going to stop fighting to prove my innocence. I have more than enough, and Jonathan deserves to have the actual person who's guilty behind bars. I was helping Jonathan. I can show that I was trying to help him, and this I know is hurting the family, and I can see it in your faces, and I know your hearts are angry, and they should be, and I'm angry for you. And this is not fair to you. This has been dragging out for almost 2 years. It's not fair to you. And it's not fair to his children. Any of them. And it's not right. It really isn't. It's not. I've seen so much that it's just terrible. The way that they manipulated and altered and deleted things is wrong. They should not be able to do it, and they have. And for you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and
You pled guilty, ma'am.
Miss
So-
Michaels, you are not to address the state. You are to
I'm not
address me.
addressing
You are.
the state. I
You're addressing Mr.
apologize.
Giordani. You are going to address me. What do
My
you want me to
apologies.
say? What do you want to say to me?
My apologies, I wasn't trying to address the state directly. It's just, I was told. I just told one thing after another, and I truly believed that we were going to do the right thing, and it just didn't happen. I mean,
All right. So she ends up withdrawing her plea. So, for a little bit more of a backstory on this case, Devyn Michaels. So, she has a few different names that she goes by. Vinnie Powell did a great update on this case. So, she has two children with Jonathan Willett. He is the victim in this case. But we have to start here that Jonathan Willett and another woman, he had a child with, so Jonathan has a child. And that is technically, because if Devyn is Jonathan's girlfriend, then Deviere is his stepmother. Okay. But after some time, so when Deviere turns around 19 years old, Deviere and Devyn start an intimate relationship. And around the time, because they've been legally married for 2 years, Deviere and Devyn. And Jonathan Willett and Devyn Michaels, okay, so the victim in this case and the defendant, they have 2 children together that are Deviere's half sisters. But he's legally married to Devyn Michaels, who's his stepmother. But like, so his sisters are kind of technically his, like, this whole situation is very, very complicated. So Devyn Michaels also, she used to be an actress and then she went into the adult film industry. That part has come into the case. Just the fact that she was an adult film actress. Okay. So that came into the case because the defense is blaming Deviere for Jonathan's death. So the defense is blaming the son and technically the husband of Devyn. They are blaming him. Okay. But there is evidence. Okay. So the evidence in this case shows surveillance. So surveillance video shows Devyn leaving with Jonathan, the victim in this case, leaving his residence at 2:04 a.m. Digital evidence supposedly, so this is according to the prosecution's opening statement. There is digital evidence that rules out Deviere. Cell phone evidence corroborates that Deviere is at home while the phones of Devyn and Jonathan are traveling together. The defendant, so Devyn has confessed that she hit John in the back of the head while giving him a massage. But she denies because, so, okay, trigger warnings. So the victim in this case, he was, okay, beheaded. Okay. And I think his head was found in a trash can. Sadly, his mother found him. And so his mother and father, so Jonathan Willett, his parents are both Japanese, and there was a translator for the parents. I'm not going to get into this here, but I did watch that testimony. And with translation, you want to make sure that everything is being translated. And there were times where, and I'm sure because this is a court appointed translator, and the translator seems to be doing a great job. But there were times where there was a whole lot of things being said, and I'm not sure how much was being translated, or there were times because I think they were getting things clarified between because there were times where the translator didn't fully understand the defense's question, and so like he was having to get clarification. The whole thing was just a lot. Okay, so this case, I am definitely going to be following it because and so let's go on ahead and take a peek at some of Dev Devier, some of his testimony, okay? He comes across a little like he comes across passive to me. So he says yes to almost everything except for the things that he's like, "No, I did not do this to my father." Like he's very strict with that. But there are allegations at the time of this incident and right after he was drinking a lot. And him cuz I think Devyn was gonna get back with his dad, but his dad did find out that Devyn and Devier, his dad did find out that they were married, and the dad sent him a text of like, "This is messed up." Like, like, and so who so and then Devyn lost custody of the 2 girls, but Jonathan, the victim, and Devyn, they were gonna move in together and live with the girls. But there was a custody thing that because something must have happened, and we don't know why she lost custody, why Jonathan was granted full custody of the girls, but that's something that kind of came up in the midst of all of this. And so the son, it is so that's where I want to see the evidence because I do believe the state has evidence that 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 Devyn was the one that they have charged the correct person. So we are going to listen to a little bit of his testimony. I'm gonna turn closed captions on, and we're gonna listen at normal speed. So the state is asking him questions.
When you, well, I guess where do you go from work?
Straight on.
What do you do when you go home?
Start drinking.
Did you drink back then?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember before you started drinking if the girls or Nikki were home when you arrived home?
No, sir.
You don't remember, or they were not?
They weren't home.
They were not home? Okay.
I also just wanted to add because when the police when the police were initially gathering information, both I think both Devyn and Devier weren't completely forthright with their relationship. And I think this is embarrassing. Okay. Like, I think because this is like, he's still legally married to Devyn. And they are going to call her Nikki. Okay. So Devyn has alternate names. Let me see if I wrote them all down. I know that Nikki is one of them, Divine and Tracy. Okay. So Devyn is also referred to as Tracy, Divine, and Nikki. They're going to mostly refer to her as Nikki or Devyn. Those are going to be the 2 names for the defendant. Okay. And then his name is Devier. The victim in the case, his name is Jonathan. Okay. All right. Let's keep it going.
On that date, August 7th, do you continue drinking after learning of your dad's death?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the next time you saw Nikki?
I don't. I drank myself to sleep for the next couple of days.
Okay. So is it fair to say those couple days, after learning that on August 7th and maybe into the 8th, maybe the 9th, you're drinking pretty consistently?
Yes, sir.
Is it a bit of a blur for you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At some point in time, do you remember police coming to the Porcupine Rim home?
Yes, sir.
And did they come inside and they do a full search and everything?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what day that was?
No, sir.
Okay. I want to ask you some questions about items in your home. At the time you were working for Hometronics, correct?
Yes, sir.
You had the work truck.
Yes, sir.
I presume you had some tools.
Yes, sir.
Were there times in which you had saws and stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
Do you normally carry a saw, or is that something you use for particular jobs, or how does that work?
I had a drywall saw inside my bag along with a screwdriver, a flathead, an electric drill, measuring tape, leveler.
Okay. Is there a safe inside your home, or was there back then?
Yes, sir.
What was that safe used for?
Guns.
Did you have guns?
Yes, sir.
How many do you have, or did you have back then?
3.
Are you, you're allowed legally to possess guns, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have 3 guns, are they handguns?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember having them on August 7th, or was this general around that time frame?
All right. And so there was a really great question that I want to answer. So the age difference, I believe at the time of the crime, so this incident happened back in 2023. So at her arrest, Devyn was 45 and he's in his early 20s. So I believe he was like 21, maybe 22, something like that. And somebody asked about, so it's my understanding their intimate relationship began when he was 19 years old. There's nothing to me, there's nothing that's come up that said there were any conversations or anything that was sexual in nature prior to the age of 18. But it's just weird. To me, it's just there's some things that you just don't do. And like, because also once again, like this was her stepson and this is her daughter's brother. She married her daughter's brother. And so the young adult brain doesn't finish developing until like 22 to 25. Um, Initially, this relationship was likely exciting for him. A lot of their messages were sexual in nature, like once they were in a relationship, because the defense is going to show their wedding pictures. The defense, I think the defense included a lot of pictures and a lot of language between Devier and Devyn in the opening statement, and they're also going to ask him that on direct as well. Okay. I hope that was helpful. Oh, so Ria, the testimony I heard was that it started at 19. That was the information I heard. She was found. So at the time of the incident, she had the victim's blood on her cell phone and she had his ID and I think like his social, like she had his wallet or something. Like she had his the victim. She had Jonathan's information on her at the time. No. So you said from another no. So this is her step. So Devier, okay? The person whose testimony we were just listening to. This is so convoluted, okay? So Devier, his wife is the defendant. His father is the victim. His half sisters. So he has a different mother from because Devyn is not his mother. His half sisters, but they both share the same father. His sisters, they're his half sisters, who are technically also his it's like technically like stepped up by like daughter. It's weird. It's a very, very weird situation. Yeah. All right. She was never married to Jonathan, the victim in the case. So Devyn and Jonathan were never married. Okay. It sounds like their relationship was like, because even Devier is going to say there were times that he wanted to end the relationship. He's going to allege that I think before they were married, he moved to California and she said that she was pregnant with his child, and she was going to have it unless he came back to Vegas. And so he came back to Vegas. These are all things that 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 he's saying in his testimony. Okay. I don't know if Devyn is going to take the stand. I do not know. Ooh, so they never located it? So I missed that part of the testimony. Wow. So this case is very complicated. I do not know what the jury is going to decide because so Devyn initially pled guilty to I think it was maybe because she was only facing I think she was facing 15 years. I think that was the sentence that she was facing. She did a plea agreement with the state. She has a new lawyer and her lawyer is good. Okay, let me see if I can get a picture of because her lawyer is the same lawyer as Robert Tellis. No, yeah, yeah. Her attorney is very good. Y'all know I am bad with names. Um, I can play a little bit of the cross examination because there were times that I thought Devier did not come off as credible because sometimes he would just say yes. He would just admit to a lot, but I don't know if he fully understood. It was some of his testimony came across, but I think he was nervous. I don't know. I don't know why some of his testimony came across that way. All right, so let's go on ahead and watch a little bit of the cross examination.
Question. If I could ask you just a couple more questions about that, did you and Devyn get married in the traditional sense? Yes. Answer. But it was more of me helping out with the girls when she couldn't find a babysitter. So I figured, well, we both kind of sat and talked about it. When she has to go to work and can't find a babysitter, I could be there. She also had a whole bunch of medical problems, and it's very expensive to keep the girls at a daycare when she's sitting in the hospital, so I would normally be there to watch them. Question. Okay. And I'm sorry to ask, was it an intimate relationship that you were in with Devyn at some point? Yes. After the first year, it started to get intimate. Next question. Did it remain intimate up until the time of your father's death? Yes. You're getting.
So there's a good question from B Michigan. I wonder how Devyn got her high-powered attorney, and she might have some money. I don't know. Her family, I don't know how, or he might have agreed to take on the case knowing that it would get court TV coverage. Like stepmother, like cuz he's a very good attorney and he's covered some very high profile cases. And I think he wanted, there's some defense attorneys that see a trial or they hear a situation and they're like, I think I could help this case. And so I don't know if she's paying him. I don't know what their agreement is. He could be on because he's a Las Vegas defense attorney, I believe. Because he, like I said, he covered the Robert Tellis case as well. And he's a very, very good attorney. Very good attorney. Okay. And he is doing a good job. I think the state might have some pretty strong evidence. But yeah.
Closer to the truth of the nature of your relationship, the farther it is that you get away from perhaps being charged with his murder. Fair to say?
Can you repeat the question?
You're getting more and more truthful concerning the nature of your relationship with Devyn, the further it gets away from your having been charged or being charged. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
You testified today that you didn't remember the date that you married her, correct?
And I don't, because he didn't remember the exact date. And I don't know. So the defense, I think, is going to show some pictures or something.
Your testimony that you don't remember marrying her on December 21st, 2021?
No, sir.
So just that he didn't remember the exact date. I think what he's saying is that he didn't remember the exact date. Just like sometimes I can't remember. I sometimes get my anniversary confused. If is it October 5th or is it October 7th? Sometimes I don't remember the exact date. But it comes across interesting. I will definitely continue to follow this case. It is being streamed on Court TV. I'm pretty sure Long Crime is streaming it as well. His testimony was day 2. So if you want to go back and take a look at his testimony was from day 2. And as I mentioned, Vinny from Court TV did a overview. Let me see. It's that bizarre love triangle. He did a great overview of the case, highlighting some of the testimony as well. Okay. Let me know if y'all have any other questions about that case. Yeah. So, and they got married. So the crime happened 2023. So the defendant, the victim died August 7th, 2023. They got married December of 2021. The father was not aware. And it's and there is testimony that Jonathan, the victim, and Devyn, that they were getting back together. And he didn't seem upset. Devier didn't seem upset about that. And I think the state pointed out the fact that he had weapons of like, if he wanted to do something to his dad, he could have used a weapon. I don't know. So I think that's why the state might have mentioned some of the other things. It's my understanding that there is digital evidence that puts Devyn with Jonathan and that she admits to hitting him with an object. Like she admits to all of that. And so I don't know. It's a very, very difficult situation. And I can understand why some people would be frustrated with his testimony. I think he was trying to be careful. I don't know. And he could also have some anxiety. This is likely a very stressful situation. This is very embarrassing. There are these huge cameras. This trial is streamed. And because at one point the defense asked him, "Oh, you watched the opening statement." And he didn't know what an opening statement was. And he was like, "I watched something on YouTube about the case." And the state came back and clarified that he had watched something not about this current trial. He had seen something on YouTube about the like custody case. And so like sometimes he's not very clear in his answers. Okay. All right. And so I have no clue what happened. We will see what the evidence the state presents, and then what evidence the defense presents as well. All right, we are going to move to our next case for today. We have been covering the Latoshia Daniels case. She is the social worker and anger management specialist that was in a relationship with a married pastor, and that relationship did not end well, and she ended up shooting him, and he died, and his wife was also shot. The wife survived. So the wife did survive. I do have videos of my prior coverage because I did a video with Kathy from Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo. She did a phenomenal job covering this case. This is, I apologize for the ads. I can't make all of them go away. All right. Because the jury deliberated for about a few hours. Latasha was charged with first degree and first-degree attempted. And the jury found her guilty of second degree. So the jury did not believe that she intended, like that she went there with the intent to do what happened. So the jury seemed to buy, but the defense really wanted manslaughter, or like they wanted a lower. So she was found guilty of second degree, and she was also found guilty of reckless endangerment or malicious wounding, something like that. Let me see which one it was. My brain isn't reckless endangerment. That's what I thought. Yes. Um, for when the wife was shot. So that is the wrap on that case. During that case, there was testimony from a forensic psychologist, and her testimony I thought was pretty. It might have been helpful. I honestly think this was one of the rare cases where the defendant taking the stand might have helped her case with the jury. It might have. I don't know. So nobody from the jury, to my knowledge, has talked after this. The state, of course, was disappointed that the first degree wasn't returned with a guilty verdict, but they said they were pleased with the outcome. And so thank y'all so much for being here and watching. Somebody mentioned not believing, and for the case that we just finished talking about, not believing that he didn't watch. And sometimes witnesses are sequestered, like they're told to not watch any coverage. I don't know if in this case, if they are specifically told to not watch. So I don't know, but let's see. All right. Amanda, just rest. You don't have to chat. All right. Thank you all for all the support. And in the case, so when the defense was interviewed for the Latoshia Daniels case, they were asked as well, like if she's receiving any treatment. And she would like to continue therapy. It sounds like she has been receiving therapy, and that she would like to continue to participate in therapy if it is available. And so, Amanda, I'm gonna take your keyboard away if you don't stop. I'm just kidding. For anybody watching on replay, we have a supporter who is in pain and needs to just rest and just listen and not go in the chat. But I understand. I would be the exact same way. I would be chatting as well. All right. So let me know if y'all have any questions about that case. Next. Oh my. Oh my. Thank you to the psych nerd that asked me to talk about the y'all know Diane Downs. Okay. Put a 1 in the chat if you've heard of Diane Downs. So I hadn't heard about this case. So this case is from the 80s. And I just want to share, because Paul did a phenomenal video from about Diane Downs' parole board hearing, and he has a great case overview of this case as well. And I believe I have a link to this video down in the description. Oy, but we are going to listen to some of the parole hearing, okay? And we're going to listen on Diane Downs TV, just in case you're watching on replay. And if any parts of this have to be cut out, I might have to clip certain parts out if people aren't able to share this information. Okay. I do have a link to, I'm almost positive, and I'll make sure to check to make sure I have a link to this full hearing down in the description. This hearing was long. Okay. So for anybody that has not heard about Diane Downs, so back in the 80s, okay? So let me get all of my information, case history. Oy. So Diane Downs was, she's currently 70 years old, and she has been in jail since she was convicted in the death of her 7-year-old, and then her 3 and 8-year-old at the time were shot and injured as well. And I believe at the time, one of the children said that the mom was the one that did it. And Diane has all kinds of thoughts about all of this. And during her parole hearing, she's pretty much saying she's been falsely accused. All of these people forced her to say and do things that are not true. And it's just all of this. I was surprised, but it was the 80s, so maybe it's not so surprising. But Diane's 2 surviving children were adopted by the lead prosecutor in the case in 1986. Okay. This incident happened in I think it was 1984. Let me see. Yes, it was. Okay, she was convicted on June 17th, 1984. Let me see if I can find the date of the incident. Mhm. She claimed she was carjacked on a rural road, and a strange man um, shot her children, and people were saying that she seemed calm. There are a lot of reports that she drove very slowly to the hospital. Afton, and so I think Diane liked the fact that, because I think in termination of parental rights, it's during the parole hearing. So I don't know what to believe, but during the most recent parole hearing, Diane Downs said the lead prosecutor, he did not want her parental rights terminated, but she just seemed to think there were a lot of these big conspiracies. One psychologist diagnosed her with narcissistic personality disorder, and the defense psychologist did not think that she met criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. But like, she did not blame. I think she's saying it was a white man. She did not blame a minority like Susan Smith. She did not. But oh, like this case is she's a lot. So we are going to listen to some clips from this parole board hearing, okay? And we're also going to listen to how her lawyer describes her at the end. Uh, okay, she also I forgot to mention she tried to escape. So she did. She escaped from jail. Let me see if I can find the date that she escaped from jail. And she's gonna blame that. She's gonna say that she was given the name of somebody um, that of who did the crime, and so she escaped to, like, an inmate's ex-husband's house, and she stayed there, and I believe they were intimate. Like, I believe she stayed at his house for a while, and she's gonna try to say he didn't have a car. He only had a bicycle, so he wasn't able to take her to find this person that she thought could exonerate. I don't know. Like, it's like this was exhausting. Okay. I listened to all more than 4 hours of this hearing, audio only. Okay. Now I was shopping in Wegmans. I was doing a whole bunch of other things. Okay. So I was not just sitting and doing nothing while I listened. It was so long. So I believe she had a child while she was in prison, and that's the only child that has come public and talked about things. The two, because one child died, so she had 3 children at the time of the incident. One child died, and the other 2 children were adopted. I guess she had a baby some point in jail, and that child was adopted by somebody else. And she has come forward and talked about things. You can Google, and like if you Google Diane Downs children, like the information comes right up. Okay. But she's given interviews. The daughter, and I think she had a bad experience because it's my understanding that daughter wrote to Susan. I'm sorry, I said Susan, Diane. That daughter wrote to Diane, and it didn't go well. And so, based on what I saw, it doesn't look like that she has a relationship with any of her children. So her brother and her mother. So and she says her sister. They are all willing to have her come and live with them. That's and she would not be able to be around children, and none of them have any minor children. Or if minor children came, they would make sure that she like was not around them. In one of the reports, it had concerns about her being around anyone that was vulnerable if she thought she could get something out of them. I don't have anything to disagree with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and listen to this.
Go.
Okay, so just to kind of take you back to where we were, was really at the time of the trial is that I was talking about, because I just want to make sure I understand what you were telling Vice Chair Cleaver. At the time of the trial, there were reports and documents that had been provided by the police or the prosecution to your defense attorney
Yes,
that,
three of those documents, 3 of the police reports. Go ahead.
okay, and those could all be said to be exculpatory, and
Yes,
witnesses testified contrary to what was in those reports. So I just want to, because if that's the case, then that meant that the police and the prosecution, as well as your defense attorney, at the time of the trial, all knew that this testimony was contrary to what was in the reports, right?
that's correct.
Okay.
But we're not we're not putting them on trial. It's too late. There's nothing that can. I am not out to get the prosecutor. That man. I'm probably the only person on this planet who likes Fred Yuki the only person in my family. My dad hated Fred. I respect
Fred is the man that adopted her two children.
Fred. I support Fred. He and his wife, Joanne, did not want children. My children were handicapped, and they stopped their lives to take care of and protect my children. Fred knows I didn't do this. If Fred thought that my children were in danger, Fred hid them. He took them and he hid them. He's not hiding them from me. I'm in prison. Fred hid them because he knows that the man who shot them is still out there. I respect that man. I do not hate him. He raised my children. He loves them. Nobody will ever make me say anything bad about Fred. The transcript shows what the transcript says. Yes, Fred did some things that were wrong because he needed to put me in prison, because he needed to stop the investigation because they could not find the man who did this. And as long as Diane's in prison, then the man who did this thinks he's safe and my children are safe. I really believe in my heart that's why Fred did what he did. Not because he hated me, not because he wanted to close a case, well, kinda, but he wanted to protect my kids from the person who did this. And it wasn't me. It just, if it was me, why would he hide them? Who's he hiding them from? Not me.
Okay. And this was extremely hard to listen to. Okay. Because she's trying to say, I would never say anything bad about Fred, and then goes on to allege that he intentionally put on false evidence to convict her to save her children because the children would be safer if she was in jail. When I believe Fred lives a quiet life so that the children can have a normal life and people not know about their biological mother. Like, I think that's why he does that. But it's not delusional in a, like, psychotic disconnected from reality. It's more of a, this answer protects my ego. Now, I don't know that for sure. I do not know her. I have not assessed her. It is my understanding that at least one psychologist has diagnosed her with narcissistic personality disorder. She disagrees with that diagnosis and says that she cares about people. She's a kind person. She goes off to list all of her accomplishments and all the ways that she's not narcissistic. But then, like, there are certain things that just it seems to possibly fit that grandiose idea of self and some other potential things. It was very odd. It was, and she seemed to minimize everything. So during her trial, she alleged that she had a history of childhood. Okay, so trigger warning, right? A childhood essay by her father. At the very beginning of this trial, of this parole board hearing, and this is her, I think, fourth or fifth parole board hearing. At the very beginning of this, she says, "Oh, my lawyer told me that it would look better if I just admitted it, if I just said yes to that, and then said, no, I didn't do this to my children, that it would look better." And then and then one of the parole board members said, "Are you saying that your lawyer suborned perjury?" And she's like, "Wait, oh, did he?" She was like, "Let me write that down." And she's like writing down. And so one of the other parole board members is like, "Do you understand that he could lose his license for you saying this?" And she's like, he's not even a lawyer anymore. Is that really that big of a deal? Like, the things that come out during this. And then at the very end, and we might listen to it, we might not, but at the very end, she's talking about, I might be a paralegal, I study the law, I do all of these amazing things. But during the parole hearing, somebody tells her, the parole board, this is not a time to relitigate your case, or like. And then she was surprised that they weren't going to investigate her claims. She thought the parole board was an investigative body. She does have a lawyer sitting there, and the lawyer probably told her, "Susan, give short answers, just answer what they say." I'm pretty sure the lawyer tried. But the lawyer might, I'm sorry, I keep saying Susan, it's Diane. Her name, she looks like a Susan to me. I'm so sorry if I keep saying Susan. Her name is Diane. Susan is in my brain. Her name is Diane. And I think when I was a kid, when I was in high school, our next door neighbor, me and my mom, I want to say we called her name Susan, and her name was something else, but we called her the wrong name for like years, for like more than like 5 years. And we found out her real name. Her name is Diane Downs. Okay. So ignore if I say Susan again. This was just very, very painful to listen to. Let me see what else. They're going to ask her what she's learned. Okay. So let's listen to her talk about what she's learned.
All right, so thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I really want to get back to the question at hand, or the topic at hand, and it really goes back to the beginning when Chair Bailey said that he wanted to ask you about what programming you did
Yeah,
since the last time you saw the board. So we've now established that
Yes.
this issue of learning about you trusting too much, you'd already gained that insight
yes.
8 years ago. So, and I'm
Yes.
sorry if maybe you said this and I missed it, but what if anything, have you gained insight about or learned in the last 5 years since you saw the board last?
I've taken cognitive behavioral treatment.
Yes, and you mentioned that, but what did you
right.
did you learn something from that? And if so, what?
It was, victim impact, it was LTOP again, in which I took 10 years ago. So it was a refresher course. What have I learned more about myself? That is not easy. That it's not easy to undo a lifetime of behavior. Trusting. You have to be able to trust to an extent. you can't just not trust anybody. That's not healthy. And it's not good for you, it's not good for anybody else. So I have tried to learn to balance between the two. But everything goes back to life scripting. Why do I do something? If somebody comes and they say, Diane, I need you to do something, and I can do it, I do it because I want to do it, not because I feel like I have to do it anymore. But if I feel like I have to do it, why do I feel like I have to do it? Is it because if I don't do it, they won't like me? That's never been the reason, but that's one of the things that they teach you. I've never worried about not doing something because I won't be liked. That doesn't really bother me. But it's just building on that. Every day practicing that skill. You don't just take a class and that's the end of it. You have to practice it every single day until it just becomes second nature for you. And so every time somebody asks me something, it's a practice lesson built on life scripting. The classes that I've taken, Prison of Peace, it was great. It teaches you how to mediate other people's problems, but while you're mediating somebody else's problems, it opens the door for saying, hey, I had that same problem at some point. Maybe I had, whether it's a problem with a roommate or a problem with a staff person or a problem with something at home. My mom just recently ended up in the hospital, and there was nothing I could do about it. So go back to life scripting. Why do I feel like I have to do something about it? The doctors are taking care of her. She's in the hospital. She's being rehydrated. So there's nothing you can do. So stressing on that isn't going to make mom any better, and it's not going to make you any better. And those are things that I've learned in the classes since then, because every class that I've taken since then always goes back to life scripting, always goes back to why. Because I'm a person that needs to know why. I need to know why, everything. Why do I do what I do? Why do other people do what they do? Why do they not do what they do? So.
All right, thank you, Ms. Downs.
All right, and Ms. McClinty, any questions about programming?
Yes. Ms. Downs, you took a victims impact course back in 2018.
Good.
Can you tell the board a little bit about this program, just your experience with the program and what you learned?
Yes.
Okay. So she's really not going to give any information about anything that she's learned. She did say there won't be true healing until someone believes her that she didn't do this. So that's been her issue with working with therapists, is that the therapist has to believe that she didn't do it. And if the therapist doesn't believe that she didn't do it, that like she can't heal until somebody believes that she didn't do it. She also said that people want her to deal with the fact that it was her fault. And she said the only thing she was guilty of was putting her children in danger. She says that she tried to escape from prison to find the person that was the real suspect. And she admitted that that was a stupid decision. She gave the name of the man that she thinks did the crime, and supposedly he's confessed to multiple people. When asked what did she do wrong, she says she trusted the wrong person. And then she says that she looks wacky and like this is a big conspiracy. Let's go to 3 hours and 19. Let's go forward a little bit. Okay. Oh, this is hard. Okay. All right. So let's start right about here.
Wheeler was the one, she was the chairperson, she's the one that carried the day. And he goes, no, Diane, I'm listening to it right now. And he was very, very upset at me. And I couldn't get a thumb drive. And it wasn't until Joanne Miller sent me a copy, not even the board still did not send me a copy of the transcript. It wasn't until Joanne Miller sent me a copy of the transcript that I read it and went, this is not a copy of the hearing. I speak in contractions.
Okay. So they were asking why information that she says what happened during the hearing, why it's not in the transcript. And she's saying she received the transcript and that the transcript is not accurate. That's what she's saying.
I don't want to go. I didn't do that. I can't remember. The whole thing is not, there's not one contraction in it. I don't know what it is, but it's not me. And the thumb drive, he says, Diane, my brother said, Diane, it sounds like you. I said, but it's not me. I don't know what to tell you except, and that's why Michelle Guyton, the following, when I went to board in 2020, that was her big hang-up because I had not received a copy of the transcript yet, so I didn't know that it was a forgery. And when I told her what Candace Wheeler said, she wrote in her report that your version does not match reality. My version is reality, and what you guys have is not. You need to go back. You have access. And if you're honest with yourselves, if you really want to know the truth, go back and get the real videotape and see what was really said. I know you guys can do it. I really don't think somebody destroyed it. Maybe they did. I hope they didn't. And see the real videotape that was said. Candace Wheeler carried the whole day. We spent literally 2 hours talking about, we didn't talk about the case.
Okay. So this is a great question from Rochelle. Do you think she's convinced herself she did not do it? So individuals like Sarah Boone, Lori Vallow, Diane Downs, they don't want to be seen as unalivers, murderers. They don't want to be seen that way. I think she wants people to see her as a loving mother that's grieving, not being able to have a relationship with her daughters. I think she wants to be seen as somebody that would never do those things. And that's where I think somebody likely diagnosed her with narcissistic personality disorder, because a lot of people would say her inability to accept what she did. I don't know why. And also there could be evidence, there could be DNA evidence that completely exonerates her, but it's my understanding that there's not. And she didn't take responsibility for barely anything this entire hearing. By the end, you can hear some people on the board like sighing, like you can hear, you can hear like, oh, like you can hear some things towards the end. And so there can be this inability to accept reality, but it's not psychotic. It's to protect the ego. And that's harder to change because at least with psychosis, if you're given medication, that can change. I'll leave that there. Let's keep it going.
We spent 2 hours talking about where I would report parole and what I would do for a living. That was what we talked about for 2 hours. And then at the end, she goes, okay, so we're going to go ahead and deny you parole. Do you understand? Oh, and we'll see you in 2 years. Do you understand? And I said, no, I don't. She goes, we're denying you parole. We had a new law in 2009. We're denying you parole for 10 years, and we'll see you in 2. Do you understand? No, I still don't. So there you go.
Okay.
Every time I go to the board, I submit a request for administrative review. There is no request for administrative review for the 2010 hearing because I never received a copy of the transcript and I never had the opportunity to request review.
Okay.
And there you go. That, because they didn't send me the back sheet for the longest.
Okay.
And that is the only one that does not have an administrative review because I did not have a copy of the transcript because they didn't want me to have it
Okay.
because of what it said.
All right, so Ms. Downs, I appreciate that, but I want to ask you this question because I got 2 remaining. So I'm going to talk about the evaluation that you had with Dr. Guyton. This is a few years ago.
So they're going to ask her specifically about the narcissism. Okay, I believe that's what's coming.
Before I ask you this question, what I want to relay to you, right, is that it's not the board's job, certainly not within our purview, to decide whether you did or did not, in fact, commit the crimes that you were convicted of, right? That is not the board's role. So as of now, I have that you have been convicted for committing these crimes. And many of the questions we ask you are designed to kind of get at your insight and to get your understanding and to get your perspective.
Correct.
So I want to read you what Dr. Guyton wrote, because this is something that's on my mind and I want to get your feedback. She wrote, quote, "Her previous violence occurred in the context of her care of vulnerable children for some purpose that has not yet been fully understood due to her denial of responsibility. Without understanding the motivations that led towards these acts, it is difficult to understand the risk of violence she poses in future situations if she should perceive a benefit for herself and the harm or removal of another vulnerable individual."
That quote right there. So the fact one of her evaluators said, due to her not really the first crime occurring while she was in the care of vulnerable individuals and us not really understanding all of the motivations there. Like, if she was in a similar situation, because we don't fully understand the motivation, like, we don't know if she's fully changed. Like that, like, it's hard to assess her potential for harm in the future. And what she's about to say it's going to be more of the same, but I thought that was a very powerful statement. And you also heard him explain the role of the parole board. And let's go ahead and keep it going.
I'm just curious to get your feedback on that statement.
I'm 70 years old. There aren't any more vulnerable people in my life.
Her mom.
At least
So I would think her mom. However, because her mom is probably 90, so I would think her mom could be a vulnerable adult. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But that's just my personal. So I'm not on the board. I'm not advising anything. But like, she's saying there's no chance of her being around a vulnerable person, and there might be.
no more vulnerable than I am. I am actually innocent. I know it's not your job to decide whether or not I'm innocent. That's my attorney's job, and she will be taking that up next week. Well, beginning the process. It is a process. And I don't know how else to address that. I did not commit this crime. There's no reason to believe that I would commit another crime that somebody else committed. There's no reason to believe that.
All right, and then lastly,
So I don't know enough about her. Um, but it reminds me of like a Lori Vallow, somebody that would never admit to anybody else what actually happened, and would come up with because to me, Lori came up with a story that was worse because she brings Tylee into it. Like it's not good. So, um, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
so ultimately, what I think about is that I wonder.
This was a question. Was she in a fugue state? So, I did not. So she was convicted of this crime, and from what I've heard, from what's been reported about it, it seems clear, like, to everybody else that it was her. She denies it. She says there was somebody else. She says somebody else has said they did it. She says all these things. I don't know, but there are other red flags outside of even if she didn't. Because I thought that one of the men she was dating at the time, that they didn't like children. Like, I thought that was a thing. Mm, I don't know. Well, let's keep it going.
whether or not that one of the reasons why you claim innocence, and I just want your feedback, is that because of all of the things that have been identified about the narcissistic personality disorder, that it's just too much for you to be able to admit that you harmed your own children, and that you've convinced yourself that you were not involved because it's just too much, it's too hard to admit that you were responsible for that. I wonder whether or not that is kind of what's going on. And I don't necessarily, I guess, expect an epiphany today. I'm just curious with your, for your feedback on that, that's all.
I did not shoot my children. I know full well I did not shoot my children. There is no little secret locked away in my brain. There was no gunshot residue on my hands. The gun, they spent hours and hours and hours and weeks looking for the gun, never found it. So it wasn't like it was just somewhere along the route. There is no reason. I didn't have money problems. Somebody said I didn't have money. I had money problems. I think that was in somebody's report, the DA's report. I didn't have money problems. I had money in the bank. We were buying a house. I had a full-time job with the federal government. There were no stressors.
Okay. So this isn't going to get any better. Okay. Like, to me, it doesn't really answer the question, and they're going to ask her why she told a completely different story in the past, and she's going to pretty much kind of deny that it was a different story. And then let's get to 356, because she's going to say she educated herself about narcissism, and she's going to tell all the reasons why she doesn't have it. So let's start right about here.
Dr. Bailey asked you about the most recent psychological evaluation with Dr. Milkey. You said you disagreed with his diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. Why?
Yes. First of all, I think all of us are narcissistic to an extent, the whole world. But
So I will agree with her that narcissism is a spectrum. And there are some people that are at like a clinical, they meet criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. But at the core of narcissism is this insecure ego where the person can't take feedback. They can't admit that they did anything wrong because their sense of self is so fragile. So at the core of true narcissism is a insecure ego. Narcissists are not confident. So confidence is something different because confidence is based on a strong ego, a strong sense of self, and it's not an inflated sense of self. Narcissism is an inflated sense of self that's not based in reality. So the person is projecting this thing to the world that they aren't. Okay? And it's just going to get worse, but we're going to keep it going. Y'all asked for this. Please know somebody asked me to talk about this one. Okay.
narcissism is somebody who doesn't care about anybody else. Everything that they do has a means to an end, which is to gratify some spoken or unspoken need.
Did you hear the sigh? Did you hear the sigh? Listen for the sigh. Once she gives her definition. Okay, so I'm not laughing. So this is a very serious thing. Okay, this is a very, very serious case. Okay, but somebody is going to sigh at once she describes what narcissism is. Okay, and we are 4 hours in, and they did take a break, and at some point, but let's keep it
to an extent, the whole world. But narcissism is somebody who doesn't care about anybody else. Everything that they do has a means to an end, which is to gratify some spoken or unspoken need for themselves. I am not that kind of person. When people come and say, Diane, I have to run it on a ducket really quick, can you help me? I need to do something. Sure. Can you
Individuals with narcissism can be helpful. Okay. So narcissism is more than just like it's not somebody that's selfish. Like there's a deeper thing. There is a much, much deeper thing. And so, but we're gonna listen to it.
push my wheelchair? Absolutely. Can you go pick something up from the program office for me, get some paperwork for me so that I can finish this typing? Absolutely. Those are things that I do just spontaneously, without a thought. There's no narcissism involved in that. He said narcissistic people lack empathy. I empathize. I listen to people all day long. As a porter on my job, people come out all.
So what I hear when she describes empathy is I hear her because they're gonna ask her how she thinks this impacted her children, and she's going to say something to the effect of, like, them being known as her children is what was hurtful. Like, she's not gonna talk about the experience from being able to see it from, like, "My children have this physical reminder, they have this physical pain, this destroyed our family." Like, it's not from that perspective, it's more from her perspective, in my opinion, okay? So based on what I was hearing and what I was seeing in this, when she talked about how this affected her children, she talked about, like, how it almost was like how it affects her and not really her children. I don't think she's gonna get paroled. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. The parole board, they could just be like, "Hey, she's 70." I don't know. Her family wants her, but, like, mm, I don't know if they will find that she's no risk because yeah.
Day long and say the things that happen to them during the day. I listen to them. I rarely give advice. If they ask for it, I give them the best advice that I can, which is think about what has happened. Don't just jump to conclusions. Just because somebody else is saying something ugly doesn't mean that maybe they're going through something. Those are the things. He says that I don't have remorse. I have remorse. I live with remorse. That is the only thing. I got shingles from remorse. You don't ever want to get shingles. It's nasty stuff. He says that I lack insight. But everything that is pigeonholed in is she lacks remorse because she won't confess. She lacks empathy because she won't confess. She lacks insight because she won't confess. But I didn't do it. So if he pins everything on the fact that I won't confess, if he pins narcissism, which he does in this report.
I think it's deeper than that. I don't think it's only that. I think it's deeper than that.
If he roots everything, all of narcissism based in the fact that I won't confess, then the fact that I'm factually innocent means there's no narcissism. He doesn't have any other reason to call me narcissistic. There's nothing in my trial transcript that shows narcissism. There's nothing in my childhood that shows narcissism. I cared for my siblings when they were coming up, the same way my mom cared for her siblings when they were coming up, because I learned from my mom. I go to church. We give to charities. I crochet blankets for children and veterans hospitals. I don't have to do that. There's a lot of people who don't.
Somebody should go back and count how many times she said "I." Oh, N this is tough. This is tough. And this is tough. What did Diane say? Did I miss it? Okay. This is tough. But I mean, I'm just over here like because what she calls remorse is like because she said maybe she wished her children weren't with her, but like I don't know how she defines remorse. Carol, I agree. I agree. So this, Lisa, this is Diane Downs. Okay. Paul did a phenomenal video. And I think it's only like 20, 30 minutes. And I have it linked in the description covering her case. She was driving with her children. And this was back in the 80s. So this was like 84, 80, I don't know. It was in the early 80s. I was born in 82. Uh, and she stopped the car. Oh, because they're gonna ask her were the children strapped in, and you didn't have to have kids in car seats back then. Like the two kids in the back, two kids were just lying in the back seat. She says, we don't know if any of that's true. We don't know if anything of what she says is true. But the children end up getting shot. One is deceased. The other two survived. The prosecutor in the case adopted the two children, which is wow. I don't think they would allow that now. I don't think in any way. So sometimes they let firefighters that like find a child, like if a child is, um, is like that safe harbor, if they're given to the fire department, sometimes a firefighter might be able to adopt it, but not the prosecutor. Not if you were involved in like prosecuting the crime. I don't think that would ever happen. Her children stay completely out of it, so none of her children spoke. I think she does have letters of support. The state is going to mention that. So I think the state submitted something about their continued concerns. She has so much, and I listened to all four. It's almost 5 hours long. How long is this? Okay, so 4.5 hours. I listened to every minute of this for you all, so you all don't have to. Okay. This was painful. This was very, very painful. Her lawyer seems like a good lawyer. And so I'm going to skip ahead to what her lawyer says a little bit later. 423. Somewhere around here. Let's see.
Said enough.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to be really brief, Mr. Bailey, and
So this is Diane's lawyer is speaking now. Okay. Who's been present at this entire hearing.
I'd like to first thank you for giving us the opportunity to present some additional evidence, and we're going to try and keep it very much focused on not trying to prove her innocence, because that's not the process here, but just to give some support for the fact that what Diane is saying is supported in certain instances, and that she's not being grandiose or making it up or anything like that. Doing a parole hearing for someone who claims innocence is always much more complicated than a regular hearing where we can really address things like insight so much easier. And in this case, it's particularly difficult. I think one of the questions that was asked is like, why you? Why is this case so famous? Why is this case so famous? That is a really, really good question that I don't think anyone really has the answer to. I was looking on the internet the other day, and this case was described in a recent 2020 article by ABC News as having been a national spectacle, and the nation was gripped.
She also tried to escape from prison. So she successfully escaped one time. She was accused of trying to escape 2 or 3 other times. She minimizes all of those attempts. Okay. She's going to say the caulking was removed. She's going to say a bunch of things. She's going to deny. Okay. Insight is I want to see insight in psychology. So I like it sometimes when they break it down. And so it's an understanding of a problem, situation, or pattern. So when she looks at her situation, she sees herself as the victim of a bad investigation and that she's innocent. Everyone is against her, and there's this big conspiracy. The only thing wrong she did was having her children with her. So insight would be, so Sarah Boone lacks insight. I don't think she really admitted that her drinking was like a problem. I don't know that Sarah ever really admitted that. As a therapist, we evaluate insight. So when somebody comes in to meet with me, and let's say they have really, really bad anger, but they're like, my anger's fine. And I'm like, ooh. But like, I can see their anger. Like other people are telling me about their anger, but they're like, nope, I'm fine. They lack insight into the problem. So insight is being able to see things from a clear, unclouded perspective. And her perspective is very So she only sees the stuff that benefits her, my own personal opinion. I don't know that for sure. I've never met her. I've never evaluated her. Okay. So these are just Dr. Berry's thoughts. Individuals with narcissistic personality disorder struggle with insight, seeing things the way other people see them. So when Sarah Boone looked at the videos on her phone, she saw herself as the victim. We all saw those videos and we saw George as the victim of her harm. And individuals like, so I think Lori probably thought all of her interviews have gone extremely well. And she's probably very pleased with like how she's done in all of her interviews. And we're all back here like, ooh, like you look a mess. And she doesn't see it. Okay. That was a really great question. Um, yes, she took them on a car ride and then slowly drove them to the ER. She was not rushing. Yes. Okay. That's my understanding based on what has been said. Okay. So her attorney is talking about the spectacle of her case.
Case from the very beginning. And so I think that Diane in some ways has had to deal with this just outsized attention that really, doesn't make any sense particularly. I mean, every murder, especially every crime is horrific, every murder is terrible, and anytime children are involved, it's always particularly awful and tragic. And, of course, when a mother is accused, that becomes a more scandalous kind of a situation that people are far more judgmental of than when it's a man involved. I'm not just making that up because I'm a woman or because Diane Downs is a woman. It's just kind of a sort of fact. And it's also a much rarer situation. And over the years, Diane has been accused of enjoying the attention and being grandiose when she acknowledges it or recognizes it, but it is a fact. And so when she's told, Oregon made me famous, she's not saying that because she thinks highly of herself. She's saying that as an unfortunate recognition of the truth and the world that she's had to live in the last 42 years. Additional problems that Diane has faced is that she is not a demure, docile woman. She is a fighter. She
is not demure. So demure was like the word. Was that 2024? Remember when everything was like demure? Oh my gosh. Do y'all remember? And so her lawyer is doing a good job because Diane is not demure. She is a fighter. She is not docile. She is going to argue her point. But is that personality style helpful for her? This seems to be getting in her way, but it might not.
Has fought for herself at every point. She refuses to accept the status quo. She said from the very beginning that she's innocent, and I hope that the DNA motion that we're able to submit next week will go some way towards helping her discover the whole truth of this case, and everyone else as well. But it's been extraordinarily difficult for her, and I think that she's been maligned greatly, and at times I will say that Diane massively hurts herself because she is too outspoken, because she is too argumentative, because she will entertain any idea put into her head as a possibility, because she talks too much. I think that's true. And so I would ask...
She's a really good lawyer. Her lawyer, and Diane's not even upset by any of this. She's probably like, yeah, probably. Yeah, because I'm sure they had a conversation and her lawyer was like, because even her lawyer asked her to not answer certain questions because they're going to try to take her case back to trial, I think. Like they might try to request a new trial. I don't know. They're trying to submit that there's new evidence. I don't know. I don't know that the Innocence Project would take a case like this. Maybe. I don't know. Yes, her daughter did testify against her during this hearing. She says that her daughter initially said she didn't know. And Diane says that her daughter was coerced into giving that testimony. And because I think the 3-year-old also said that it was the mom, because she's going to say it was a left hand shooter and there's no way that it could have been her, and there's a sketch of somebody. So she says a lot. Okay, you can feel free to go to Diane Downs TV and watch the entire 4.5 hours. It is a lot. It is so much. So much. It's so much. we're gonna listen to the rest of her attorney, and then I think after this, the state might say something. Or I'll just summarize because the state statement wasn't very long.
Today, to just consider that maybe Diane has some personality traits that don't make her look favorable to the board.
So I think her lawyer knows she comes across narcissistic. That maybe she has some personality traits that don't have her come across great to the board. But this is her being on her best behavior. How would she be out in the real world? Like, this is Diane in front of the parole board. Like, this is how she's acting here. How is she gonna be with, like, no limits, no boundaries? Ugh.
In the way that she behaves or the way that she presents to the world, but that doesn't mean it's evidence of her guilt. There's not much evidence, I think, that stands up as to actual culpability. In fact, I don't think there's anything really tangible other than the sense that everyone had that Diane must be guilty. And, you know, we address this in our motion, which I'm going to give to you, although, of course, not all of it is pertinent to what you're looking at. What I would ask you to do today is just go and take a careful look of Megan McNeil's evaluation. She went right through the history of the evaluations that Diane has received and shows kind of how this false narrative has been created about her. Also, it documents an enormous amount of her work in prison. It shows a pro-social person. Diane could not be receiving the letters of support that she's received and the commendations that she receives within her community if she was not a kind and pro-social member of her community. And she is. I've known Diane for over 2 years now, and she's always kind. She's always thoughtful.
Two things can be true at the same time. A person can be kind and pro-social and be a bit, you don't want to get on their bad side, is what I'll say. Like, I don't know. And so Diane has already been convicted. This is her parole, I believe it's her 4th parole board hearing. She's trying to be released. She would go to the custody. So her brother seems to own like a duplex, like that Diane would live on one side and her brother would live on the other with his wife. They don't have any children. They live out in a mountain. I don't know, like they live out kind of away from things. She's kind of stuck in the 80s. Like she doesn't know how to use a smartphone, the internet. And okay. Yeah, always Coco. I don't know where the father, I think maybe the father, because I thought she alleged that the father of the children did something to her. Is he deceased? The behavior arts, they did a video. I haven't been able to watch it yet. They broke down her body language. I have not been able to watch it. So her lawyer is doing a good job for her. So no need to apologize, misconduct. Her lawyer is being a zealous advocate for her. This parole board, I don't think, we'll see what happens. But okay, we're almost done.
She is the least self-pitying female client I've had. In fact, I don't think she's ever been self-pitying. She is an optimistic person who's trying really hard, and that's been used against her so much. And so, yes, not all of her answers are ideal, and yes, there's a huge record that often gets used against Diane. But
the trying to break out of prison. So she actually broke out of prison one time in the 80s, but still. And there are other attempts to break out of prison that are alleged, that are in her discipline record.
Diane's time in prison for the last few decades has been exemplary. She is clearly liked in the prison. When I go there, all the COs like, can you get her out? How's she doing? We really like her. We want her to go home. This is not, this is real. And so I'm just asking you to look at her record. Look and just consider the fact that some of her diagnoses may not be fair in the past, and that Dr. Megan McNeil, who spent the most time with her and dug the deepest into her past, gives her no narcissistic diagnosis at all. And I would also note that Dr. Milkey's diagnosis is not the same as Dr. Guyton's, and that they are coming from a place of assuming guilt, which is obviously their job, but it does massively hinder her when she's being told that she's not taking, that part of the diagnosis is that she's not taking responsibility for something that she's claimed innocence of for 42 years with the whole world against her. It's hard. I know how hard it's been. And so I'm not going to say anything more. I'm just going to ask you to look at the record carefully and consider that Diane Downs has been in prison for 42 years now, and she hasn't really done anything wrong in the last 20 years. And yes, she was young, and she tried to escape, and she wasn't ideal at the beginning because she was angry. Because she was angry about what happened. She was heartbroken. She didn't know how to fight for herself properly. So thank you very much. I'm not going to go on anymore. I appreciate all the time and effort everyone's put into this today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Mayhew. So it's 1:40, and I think I had said by the end of the day to get us something in writing. Because it's getting close to the end of the day.
I'm going to fast forward. They're going to give her more time to submit what she needs to submit. I think that's enough. Oh, that was a lot. I agree with Afton. I do not believe that she will be paroled. I believe it has to be unanimous. And there might be one or two people, because I think it might be is it a 5-person panel? I think it's a multiple person panel. And I think they all have to be on the same page. And I could hear sighing. And uh um So Afton asks, how hard is it to behave in the highly structured environment of the prison? And so Diddy he had some homemade alcohol or prison made alcohol or something, and he's supposed to be sober. And that behavior, I saw a lawyer talk about it, that might impact because he was transferred to the prison that he wanted to go to, and this behavior might jeopardize some of his requests to reduce his sentencing, because he was like, I've been sober for the first time in 25 years. He was able to get his hands on some alcohol rather quickly. And so, yeah. Yes. And so Trial Obsessed, I want to thank the psych nerd that asked me to please cover this. And then I saw Paul's video, I watched it, and I thought Paul's video was like comprehensive. And then I found the 4.5 hours. And from the beginning, I was like, what the what? Paul's video did not do it justice. Like it was bad. It was bad. And because she didn't take responsibility for anything, in my opinion. In my opinion, she did not take responsibility for anything. Everything was an excuse. Everything was somebody else's fault. So they asked her, because I think she was alleged to have been involved in like a drug plot or something, and she was like, nope, they did this because of this. The allegation of the escape, nope, it was because I wouldn't sign my rights away. Like there was an excuse for everything. And it's just like, if everyone is against you and it's like they did this and they did this and they did this and they did this and they did this, but I did nothing. I'm too trusting. I think that was the only thing she could admit to, was I'm too trusting, and yet I also have to realize that people can be trusted. Like it's just none of it made any sense. It was a lot. It was a lot. And so I don't know. So we'll see if Diddy can be on decent behavior for a period of time. So he gives me antisocial vibes. So antisocial means against social norms. That's in our cluster B personality disorders. I do not know him personally. I cannot diagnose him, and I'm not trying to. All I'm saying is that he seems to have broken the law a lot and not gotten in trouble for it. And some people continue to get in trouble even when they're in prison. So like Wade Wilson, he comes off like a sociopath, psychopath type person, antisocial personality disorder. Once again, not diagnosing, just talking about the general traits and things that are seen from that behavior. And he's had so many disciplinary issues. And so, Christina B. This month in history. It's been 3 years ago this month that Daryl Brooks was sentenced to forever in a cell. And 4 years ago this month, 6 people lost their lives due to him. Yeah. So we remember those people. His case was a hot mess. If Diane, for some reason, gets a brand new trial, please know, because she is going to testify and it is going to be a train wreck, in my opinion, I think. I don't know. But I don't think she'll get a new trial. Like, I don't think I think her attorney is trying to fight for her for them to be able to introduce evidence that didn't come in. I 'Cause Diane does herself a disservice by saying all these people, because she's kind of, saying people did crimes. She's saying they withheld this, they didn't say this, they had people, like, not tell the truth about this. Ends up causing problems. All right. And so we will be back at 4 p.m. I'm going to be going live with Josh Ritter to discuss the Abby Zwerner verdict. So she is a Virginia elementary school teacher that was unfortunately shot by her 6-year-old student. The vice principal was, she did a civil claim against the vice principal, and I believe the vice principal's criminal trial starts November 17th. So I will keep an eye on that. And if she testifies, if Dr. Parker testifies in that, I don't know that she will. I don't think she will. But if she does, I will definitely cover that. But I'm going to keep an eye on her trial as well. For now, I'm going to be following the Devyn Michaels case. That is that case that we started off at the beginning of this video. She's charged with unaliving her kind of boyfriend, but she's legally married to the victim's adult son, who's her stepson. And so that case is a hot mess, and I'm definitely following that one. Okay. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see y'all at 4. So that's in about 50 minutes. I'll see y'all for the next video. I hope y'all have a good one. Bye.